radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah. Fade to Black, it's Monday. How you doing? Let's get this show cracking. Fired up. Nothing like Monday back in the chair. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Monday, August 17th. 230 days into the new year, 135 days left. We are live from the City of Angel Studios right here in downtown Burbank, California. That's right, COA Vapor. Makers of the Fade to Black e-juice, it's called Fader Loops. Just go to the COA banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Use the promo code Jimmy for the Fader Not Special. Go and do it now. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planets, I am your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Got a great show tonight, a great week. Man. All right. Had a great weekend. Did everybody else out there have a great weekend? I had a great weekend. Rita and I went out. Went to a nice restaurant down in Long Beach with Jason Martell and his lovely better half, Nicole and Taylor. And just a great evening down there, and then hung out with friends and family yesterday, and just had a great weekend. We had to escape the heat. Oh man, it's we've had a little reprieve here today. It's like it's 101, something ridiculous. But rumors are that it's cooled down at the beaches, and we should start to see the effects of that inland here in the next couple of days. But it's been hot. This past week has been unbelievably hot here, and there's a bunch of reports happening about this El Nino that's supposed to happen now over the next couple of years, and then we're supposed to have this crazy amount of rain, and with that comes the gloom, mudslides. It's going to be the end of times. We're going to have, you know what? It cannot rain enough. We will take mudslides, traffic accidents, and whatever, just as long as water is falling from the heavens. We don't care. All right, let's go. I'm fired up. We got a great week. Looking at everything that we have got going on around here. And then, of course, as if this week wasn't amazing enough, we're going to start it off next week with David Wilcock and Corey Good are going to be live with us, an exclusive. And it's one of those things, you asked for it, you've got it. And it took us a little bit, but we got to put together. It's all good. And I just got a couple of emails from Corey right before the show. That he's excited, and a couple of other things. It was, nothing, that I couldn't repeat. But I'm just saying that they are really, really wanting to sit down and have a long conversation. And it was kind of funny. David said, we want to do it on Fade to Black. And I said, let's do this, so let's go. So we put it together over the last week. And I did want to say this. It's called Synchronicity. While we were working on this over the last week, maybe week and a half, Rita can actually probably tweet out more information about that than I can, how long we were working on it, but the request started coming in. I was like, man, this has just got to slow down. Now we have to get this done. We got to get this done now. So we pulled it off. It's done. But, listen, tonight we have Ben Hansen here with us, host of Fact or Faked on the SyFy channel. And that's how we're starting off the week here. Tomorrow night, Jeremy Corbell is going to be right here. Artist, director. He's got this new film out that's coming out, Bob Lazar, Patient 17, very talented guy. One of those guys, too, that is, like Ben Hansen, and it's just, they don't do this often, and we've got them here. And then Wednesday, Jamie Bartlett is going to be here. He's a contributor for The Guardian and The Telegraph over in the UK. He wrote a piece last year called The Dark Net, and you're just going to want to be here on Wednesday. And you know how I want to say this in the nicest of terms. I have had commentary on the Darknet over the last couple of months on this very show. And we searched the world for the guy, and we have him. Jamie Bartlett is going to be here. And so if that isn't a good enough week, Ben Hansen, Jeremy Corbell, Jamie Bartlett, I'm just thinking to myself, what? It's like I'm in a dream. And then, of course, Fader Night. Then we roll right into David Wilcock and Corey Good on Monday. And we've got a great week lined up next week. So, wow. All right, where am I? Oh, okay. Let's get this going. I just want to get Ben in here as soon as possible. So the more that I yak, the faster that the time goes. And at least that's the way my mind works. Did everybody listen to Richard Dolan, by the way, leading up to the show? I did. And I took notes. It was Cooking with Richard. I got to tell you, Richard should do. If Richard split up his show every week, or at least had a segment, the Cooking with Richard segment, then you could sit there and you could take notes. And it's like, how to be as smart as Richard. Well, you start off eating like Richard, so that's a good place to go. And I'm going to take notes. I was listening. I was like, is Richard really doing this? This is really cool. All right. And it's like he couldn't help himself to either, because once he started on that road, he couldn't back off on it. And it was great. So I hope everybody caught that. Cooking with Dolan. And I think that should be a weekly segment for Richard. I will let him know. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. If you've never listened to this show before, you've heard about it, and you're in here tonight. You're in here tonight because Ben Hansen tweeted out that he's going to be here tonight, or somehow you've heard about the show and you're here for the first time. This is late night talk radio at its finest. You grew up, everybody had some little AM station that they were listening to back in the 70s, back in the 80s, some crazy station with some whacked out late night, overnight guy that would just take you on a journey, and you would listen, and you would have it turned down just enough so you could hear it, but you wouldn't wake up your parents in the next room, or you wouldn't wake up your wife who was lying next to you in bed, and you would just have it just up just enough, and you would go down, just go to some place. Well, that's what this show is all about. Tonight, we're going to be doing that with Ben Hansen right here, host of Fact or Faked on the SyFy channel. And the conversation is open-ended. I have no agenda here. I have no list of questions. The studio here is as dark as your room that you are in right now. The lights are down. Candles are lit. It's dark. It's scary in here. And I'm just one guy talking into a microphone out to the world. So now that you've got that picture in your mind, let's go on a journey tonight. Let's do a journey this week. All right? This is Fade to Black. Oh, man, I am so excited. Let's see. What was I going to say? Jeremy Corbell, tomorrow night, I just got some links. We're going to get this up on the website. He's got some links to three of his films up, and trailers and or otherwise. But we're going to get those up too as well. So just go over to jimmychurchradio.com, and we'll have those links up. And I would like everybody to see them and check it out. Go check out Jeremy's website too as well in advance of the show tomorrow night. Tonight, if you want to go check out Ben Hansen's website, it is very simple, benhansen.com, and that's BenHansen, not SON, SEN.com. Of course, over at Jimmy Church Radio, where you see any of our guests, their name is highlighted. That will just take you straight to their website. If you're on some other device and you're not doing that right now, then it's benhansen.com. Over also on the guest list, Jeremy Corbell's links are all there. Okay? All right, let's take our first quick break. We'll get back with all the news that you know nothing about, and then we'll get to Ben Hansen right at the bottom of the hour. This is Fade to Black. Only, don't do this. Oh, good. Don't even try it. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B. Come hang out in the sandbox. It's going to be a great night. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil three-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and I'm popping pills right now. Power Bites. I know everything's going to be okay. Power Bites, a complete multivitamin mineral formula designed to naturally boost your energy. Take it every single day. Right here, right now. The Green Turtle Bay Vitamin Company are dedicated nutritionists and have been producing Power Bites for over 20 years. Right here in America, the United States. Just go to EnergyWave.com. EnergyWave.com. Very simple. EnergyWave.com. They've got everything over there. Nutritional, dietary, health supplements. They produce everything in small, fresh, potent batches, and they ship direct to you. You can order right now by phone, 1-800-TURTLE-5. 1-800-TURTLE-5. Live operators are standing by. That's 1-800-887-8535. Use the promo code KGRA. All right. You know what? Did you notice that I was so excited about it being Monday that I didn't do my birthdays? I just blew right past it. I was just fired up. Hanging out with you guys. That's what happens. Today, Robert De Niro is 72. That's it. That's all you have to say. Robert De Niro, 72. Also today, Sean Penn is 55. And Rita, don't worry, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do my De Niro Sean Penn story. I can't do it. I just won't embarrass those two. So anyway, Larry Ellison, founder of Oracle and one of the richest men in the world with a net worth of about $50 billion, is 71. And I had no idea he was at 71. Years ago, I got to get to the news and get some stuff, but I just got to say that years ago I bought a set from public television, a set of videotapes on the history of the internet. Still have them here somewhere, I think. But anyway, there was a section on Larry Ellison there. And, back then, nobody knew about Larry Ellison and who he was and what he was about. It was all about, Wozniak and so forth. Well, anyway, I digress. I don't want to spin too far off. But the way that he spoke in this video, and this is like 1995 in this documentary, and I just was intrigued. And I've just kind of tagged along and followed him ever since. He's just a very impressive guy. Spent 1 year in college, and now he's worth 50 billion big ones. Happy birthday, Larry Ellison. All right, let's get to all the news that you know nothing about. On this day in history in 1974, the night Chicago died by Paper Lace was number one on the U.S. pop charts. And that's for all of us old school ones. I had to do it. I love that song. I love that song. I actually went and watched a video of it today. Paper Lace, the night Chicago died. Here's a fader fact for you. The deepest hole ever dug was 7.5 miles deep. Now, that hole was less than a third of the way through the Earth's crust. Takes you right back to the Mel's Hole hoax. Remember that? You remember that? Back on Bell's show years ago, Mel's Hole. And I listened to that show probably 5 times. You remember it was like 2 days. Art did that thing for like 2 days in a row. kept Mel on the phone. Yeah, man, I was throwing fishing line down there, 20 miles of fishing line. Had us all sucked in. Well, there you go. There's the real answer. Deep as hole, ever dug. 7.5 miles. All the news that you know nothing about. Intelligence officials assigned to review emails from Hillary Clinton from her famous server digging for classified information that may or may not have been sent or received on that email have now recommended that 305 documents on that server need to be investigated for further consultation. Now, and that's according to a report today filed by a federal judge. Now, in court papers that were filed, Judge Rudolph Contreras said the State Department has been updating them on its progress. It said that as of late Friday, intelligence community reviewers had completed preliminary screening and determined that out of a sample of approximately 20% of the Clinton emails, the reviewers have recommended 305 documents. That's about 5.1% of what is sitting on that server. This is, I have a feeling here. This is not going to end in a good way. And the way that the White House has invested into Hillary, a lot of White House staffers are now working on her campaign and like the best of the best. They've invested a lot into Hillary. And I don't know. If she gets out of this, we're talking conspiracy at the highest levels all the way to the Oval Office. That's my feeling. But I think that's where this is going. You just don't get away with that. I had said so many times, why aren't you using a government email? What are you doing with a private email, Secretary of State? It doesn't even compute. After more than 4 years and 2 giant law enforcement busts, we'll be talking about this on Wednesday, by the way, with Jamie Bartlett. The dark web's drug market is still just as robust as it was during the Silk Road's heyday. In fact, according to a new study, it's now moving well over $100 million of illegal substances a year. Now, how did they get to this number? They did a sample, and they went to, well, just let me finish. Those are a few of the lessons that they learned about bust, scam-induced setbacks, government crackdowns. The government now has figured out how to go in and get this stuff done. But right now, this deep dive study into the dark web black market sales statistics that a pair of Carnegie Mellon researchers are planning to present at the Unisex Security Conference coming up. Now, from 2013 to 2015, they used automated software to scrape the visible contents of 35 dark web markets, counting the number of feedback ratings that the major drug sites require buyers to leave after each sale of contraband, and then multiplying them by the purchased items' listed price to gauge total sales volumes. Very interesting. We'll be talking to Jamie Bartlett about this on Wednesday. When Der Spiegel published leaked pages of the National Security Agency's ANT, the A-N-T, the ANT catalog. It's a collection of tools and software created for the NSA's Tailored Access Operations, or TAO, T-A-O. It's their TAO division. It triggered shock, awe, and a range of other emotions around the world, including on this show. Among some hardware hackers and security researchers, it also triggered something else. A desire to replicate the capabilities of the toolbox. In less than 18 months since the catalog's leak, the NSA playset project has done just that. The collection boasts over a dozen devices that put the power of the NSA's TAO into the hands of, well, anyone. NASA has selected J.P. Donovan Construction, Inc. of Rockledge, Florida, to begin work at the agency's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on the ground structures that will launch NASA's next generation rocket and spacecraft to Mars. The Ground Systems Development and Operations, it's called the GSDO, Mobile Launcher Ground Support Equipment Installation Contract, is a firmed fixed-price contract that extends for 455 calendar days and has a maximum value of $45.8 million. They are moving forward. J.P. Donovan Construction will install and integrate ground support equipment onto the existing mobile launcher to modify the structure with systems necessary to assemble, process, and launch NASA's Integrated Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft. Facebook canceled a Harvard student's internship after he created a Google Chrome plugin that highlighted serious privacy flaws in the social network's messaging service. In June, a month and a half ago, computer science and mathematics student Aran Khanna built Marauder's Map. It was a browser plugin that made use of the fact that people who use Facebook Messenger share their location with everyone they message by default. Upon installing the plugin, users could use it to precisely track the movements of anyone they were in a conversation thread with. This included users who they were not friends with on Facebook, and it was accurate to within 1 meter. The app then went viral. It was downloaded 85,000 times and saw widespread press coverage by The Guardian, the Daily Mail, Huffington Post, MSN in general. 3 days after he launched it via a Medium post, Khanna disabled the plugin after Facebook told him to. And at the social network's request, he refused to speak to the press, and the company released a new version of Messenger a week later, changing how users share their locations. But they kicked him out. Uncool. Russia has banned the social news site Reddit. I talked about this last week that they were threatening to do it. Well, now they have officially banned Reddit for promoting the use of illegal substances. The site is believed to have been banned over discussion about how to cultivate hallucinogenic mushrooms. The Russian media watchdog said it had tried to contact Reddit about the chat thread, but it got no response. Earlier last week, the same agency threatened to ban Reddit for discussions about how to grow marijuana. Can you believe that? I thought it was all good over in Russia. You know, just whatever you wanted to do. Capitalism had taken over. It was all good. But now you can't even talk about growing the Mary Jane. That ain't right, is it? It's just, it doesn't feel right. And is that genuine censorship? Is it? I think it is. This is Fade to Black. When I come back after the break, Ben Hansen, right here, of Fact or Fake. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You do want to follow us on Twitter, at JChurchRadio. KGRA, The Planet. I'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Kathleen. You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Today, everybody, the Fadernauts and planet Earth is vaping. And I'm very proud to announce our very own e-juice. When we were approached by City of Angels Vapor about Fade to Black e-juice, I wanted to make sure that it was the very best and that the flavors were something that I could create myself. And we did just that. Introducing Fade to Black Fader Loops. This will take you right back to Saturday morning cartoons and your favorite bowl of Fruity Loopy cereal. Just click on the banner or go to www.coavapor.com. Enter the promo code Jimmy for the Fader Not special. That's www.coavapor.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you. And your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Attention, all Fader Knots. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's JimmyChurchRadio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. It's the Monday edition. Good to be back in the chair. Welcome, everybody listening around the world, all across the United States. Had a great weekend, trying to stay cool here in Southern California. Most of the world seems to be burning up at the moment. But tonight, we have a very special guest, Ben Hansen, host of Fact or Faked on the SyFy channel. Tomorrow night, artist-director Jeremy Corbell will be here. Wednesday, Jamie Bartlett and the Dark Net. That'll be live from the United Kingdom. The call-in number, we'll get to some calls later on tonight if Ben and I can squeeze in some time. 323-825-5045 is the call-in number. You can also Skype in Fade to Black and the number 14. Don't forget, next Monday, put this down on your calendars, we will have Corey Good and David Wilcock right here. It's going to be a blockbuster night that you have requested yourself, and Fade to Black has the exclusive. Ben Hansen was the lead host and investigator of the SyFy channel's Fact or Faked, The Paranormal Files. With 3 seasons on the air, the show focused on recreating videos and photos of alleged paranormal events to see if they have a natural explanation, if they were hoaxed, or if they remain unexplained. I was addicted to that show. The 6-person team takes on cases of ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, chupacabras, mermaids, and all of the other unusual occurrences that we talk about on this show every single night. Hansen graduated from the University of Utah and went to work investigating child physical abuse and sex crimes at the state level for several years before moving on to work for the FBI. His specialty consisted of forensic interviewing and working with special victims. Hansen is a spokesperson for Bushnell's line of night vision equipment. You can see everything at nightvisionops.com. When he's not filming, he travels the country lecturing and conducting public UFO and ghost investigating events. He just got back in from Chicago today and made it to the show. Ben, welcome to Fade to Black. How are you tonight?
Good. How you doing, Jimmy?
Are you good? Are you rested?
I have a 1 liter or 2 liter bottle of Diet Coke right here next to me.
Chasing that with a Mountain Dew. There you go.
Exactly.
Ben, welcome to the program. And you're a first-timer. This is your first time on the show. And I do this with every guest that is here for the first time. And I do a little disclaimer. And this is the disclaimer.
relax. This is just the two of us sitting on my couch in my living room having a conversation in front of a lot of people. and wherever the conversation starts, it starts. Wherever it ends, and we'll end as friends. You ready?
Fair enough.
All right. Now, Ben, first off, I got to go here. I want to go backwards a little bit into your life because you've had a very, very interesting career and a very interesting life so far, and no telling where it's going to go from here. But I want to talk a little bit about fact or faked. We're going to talk a lot about fact or faked, but I was truly addicted to that show. And was it your idea? Where did the idea come from? And tell me a little bit about that. And please, just make me happy.
Just make you happy. Well, it was interesting because I had not really done anything in television before, and we had kind of a connection with this production company that was putting together a paranormal show, Base Productions. So they produce sports science. They produced How Things Work and some other shows like that they'd only done a little bit in the paranormal space. Now, at the time, I had a group of friends that we were ghost hunting. We weren't like the guys who had their own website and a name and all that stuff. It was like, word of mouth referrals. Go check out this person's house. And, we'd hang out on the weekends. We'd go do ghost hunting. Primarily, though, my entrance into, I guess if you want to call it the whole paranormal thing, was UFOs. I mean, when I was a kid, that was what I was primarily interested in. So I got into ghost hunting stuff later, and I knew a lot. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm bragging, but I was a geek. I would read books. I knew a lot about this stuff. And so when I heard this production company was putting together a show, they linked up with us and they loved us. They loved our group. They loved everything about us. So we met with them up in Burbank. And I remember the first meeting because not all of us were there, just a few of us that could make it. And the producer sits down with us and he says, guys, I think the network's going to love you. This show that we're going to pitch is going to be awesome. What do you think it should be about?
It doesn't. Yeah, that's a good way to start. Okay.
And I looked around the room, kind of, trying to get some cue from people's glances and
right.
Is this normal?
Right.
I thought normally they have a concept and then they cast the show. Then they cast and go out and find the people. So, but it ended up being pretty cool because we were able to get in at the ground level. And I was a big fan of Ghost Hunters. I was a big fan of Destination Truth. To be honest, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but I would catch these things on every so often. And I took a couple days and I said, look, this is what I'm seeing that's on TV. This is what I'm seeing that's missing. And we wrote up a written treatment. And I would say about 60 to 70% of what we wrote up made it into the actual concept that they pitched, and then SyFy tweaked it a little bit. And it took about a year. I mean, as you know, these things, they could go years and years sitting on the back burner. And so this is actually pretty quick for how things came together from filming, what they call the sizzle reels to a concept, swapping out cast members. I think this person works better, this and that. And so I was left with about half of my original team and Bill Murphy, who I'd known for a little bit. And, we came together and before you know, we were filming and you really don't want to get your hopes up. It's not real until that first day when you're out filming. And to see something.
It's not even real till the first time it airs on television.
That's true. Exactly. Because at the moment you've become friends, or the friends I brought into it with me, and you're just hanging out, and you just have camera crew filming what you're doing, but it doesn't feel like anyone's going to ever watch this. You don't think about the audience because you don't have feedback yet. Especially after that first season, you don't know how people are going to like this, if they're actually going to watch it. And so it wasn't until we start watching the ratings and you start getting fans that it becomes real.
It's I was totally addicted, and I would always I never missed an episode. I saw them all, and we'll kind of pick apart a couple of those if you don't mind. But also Ghost Adventures. That's another show that I could not. I drove my wife crazy. If there was a Fact or Faked marathon or a Ghost Adventures marathon, I was there, and that's what I did for the evening. And I'm not making this up. I'm being very straight. I was really I was perplexed because Ghost Adventures has got one side of things that they're doing, and you are almost debunking like Ghost Adventures. Am I making sense? Some of the most popular urban legends and videos and sightings and photographs that a lot of people have put their emotions into, and then you go in and either prove or disprove it. And I thought that was a great concept, and it was one that you probably got fans, but did you get a lot of negative blow? I really believed in this, and you and
you ruined my hopes. Yeah,
I know, because it did it for me. Did you get a lot of blowback from the fans about that?
Well, from the beginning. So when the show first started, we were throwing out titles, names, ideas, working titles, and one of them was called Vortex, kind of a play on words, right? We were, technical, the techies of Vortex and whatever. And then another one, I'm trying to remember I can't remember the name of it, but I really liked another name. And the network suggested Fact or Faked. We hated it. We hated the name. I said, do you realize what you're doing? By calling it Fact or Fake, no one's going to want to work with us. No one's going to want to be on the show.
Right.
And that, I would say, is probably one of the strokes of geniuses that came out of that, because while we were trying to avoid the controversy, it was catching enough that if people would sit down, if they wouldn't just start criticizing and tweeting and emailing me, if they would really listen, you would discover that most of us, me especially, I am very open-minded, and I've had experiences that are just incredible, both with UFOs, with ghost hunting, everything else. So I can't just dismiss things so easily, and using the word debunking became an ugly term for me. I didn't like to think of us as debunkers. My job is not to go out and try to disprove something. My job, I like to think of it, was verifiers. We're verifying, and if you can sift through, get rid of the stuff that's on the top and obvious hoax, and really dig deep, what you're left with are the more legitimate cases, and therefore you're bolstering support for belief in some of these phenomenon.
Did you anybody propose doing a Ghostbusters or a Ghost Adventures Fact or Faked?
All the time.
I know, it must have happened. Yes,
we had people saying, "Will you investigate? Zach Bagans? What about ghost hunters? Will you go and see if on this episode if what they did was faked?" And I said, "Okay, number one, guys." I didn't know any of these people personally before then, but I was like, there's many levels to the network, and I don't see the network trying to investigate their own shows. But number two, even on somebody else's show, it's just bad etiquette professionally. What Ghost Adventures does is what Ghost Adventures does.
Sure.
And you can decide to tune in or not. But what we do is what we do. So
it would have been the highest rated show in SyFy's history. Only once. It would only happen once, but it would be huge. Okay, let's back up, because I want to talk about Fact or Faked. I'm watching Twitter here. It's on fire, by the way, and some of the questions that I wanted to ask you in a little bit are popping up here on Twitter. So we'll get back to Fact or Faked. Let's talk about your career in criminal justice and the FBI. I want to talk about that a little bit, and also you growing up. you obviously have a niche for the paranormal and for ufology. Were your parents open-minded? What was it like growing up with them? And did they ever see anything? And how did you develop the open mind?
Well, that's a whole night in itself. Really cool stories behind what I discovered. But kind of in summary, what happened was my parents have always supported me in whatever I've decided to do. You know, whatever it was sports, I got into falconry. I was, got a license to go trap a falcon and train it. I scuba diving. I became a pilot. Whatever I wanted to do within means, I would have to earn the money, but they'd support me. And somehow, I think it really did begin with the movie E.T. So I was like, I don't know, 5 years old. First movie I remember seeing, I was fascinated with extraterrestrials. So when I became old enough, say about 10 years old, my dad started bringing me UFO books. And I would start clipping out every UFO sighting article I could find for the younger generation here. Of course, internet did not exist. If you wanted to know about something, you go down to the library and use that little card filing system, right? And pull stuff up, and you had to actually physically cut. This is when people read the newspaper,
right?
And I would cut out the articles and make a little book of all the UFO sightings. And it wasn't until probably I was 14, my dad and I were planning a trip to Area 51.
Right
so,
on.
My dad was promising me we're going to go. And I had it all planned out. I knew exactly every security measure they had. I knew they had ammonium body sensors and ground vibration sensors, and I was a geek. I was a nerdy little kid. And I was like, this is what we're going to do, Dad. This is how we're going to get in, and we're not going to trespass, but we want to look into the base. We got to find out. Well, being, a wise man that he is, he realized I'm not taking my son down to where we're going to get arrested. So that never happened. However, further down the road, we learned, and he already kind of knew this, my grandfather worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Oh, really?
He was there on temporary duty assignments throughout the 60s and 70s. Up until his passing, he wouldn't disclose or hint to anything. So, I mean, that's a whole story in itself of how we kept kind of pestering him with questions and the kind of interesting things he would say. And so my dad was always in that camp with me of UFO, open-minded believer. And, he brought me like Whitley Strieber's book and all this stuff. And that was very supportive. Now, the ghost hunting, though, I didn't know how they would take that because I myself didn't believe in ghosts. I believed grandma, grandpa, they can come see you when you pass away, maybe give you a message. But spirits that stay around and haunt a place, no, that's not real. We were all taught that as kids. It's just fun stuff, Go to the cemetery, flash your headlights 3 times, and a ghost will pop out of the, tombstone. And so I didn't believe any of that until I got into college when this EVP thing started coming along. And go take a tape recorder. We went to a scary place. Lo and behold, come back, full sentences spoken on the recorder that were not us. And I was hooked.
No kidding.
Oh, when you first do that, if you've never done this and you want to go check it out, that's the thing I recommend is get a tape recorder, get some friends, be quiet, make sure that you know who's talking, and go record. Because when you come back with a voice on there that's not yours, it'll change your world. And if you're lucky like I was, when I brought it home to my parents, I was like, do I even play this? Are they going to think, that we're doing seances and all this stuff? And I played it back, and my mom and dad loved it. They said, wait, rewind it. Play it again.
Do you remember the first voice that you recorded, what it said?
Yeah, I was with my 2 sisters and a couple friends in a war memorial cemetery. It wasn't a cemetery, it was a memorial park for war veterans. And we were walking around with 2 tape recorders, and it was kind of dark and spooky, but I made a comment, and I said, I wish I could have taken you guys here when the trees were thicker, because it was more scary then. And all of a sudden, you hear a voice right up against the microphone. and the voice is a sort of a forced whisper, if that makes sense, and it says, "Get brother," like "Get brother."
Oh man. Oh man.
And realizing my sister is 10 feet from me and her face is not down by the microphone, there's a child's voice. Is it a child or a woman right there? And to this day, I'm trying to find the original tape, but this was back, analog tape recorders. You can do this with digital, analog, and I think it represents probably the best evidence we have in favor of evidencing the afterlife with technology.
With all of the technology that is out there now, what do you use? And is it best maybe just to go simple, like you're saying, just a tape recorder or a digital recorder? All of these different spirit boxes and all of this hardware that is out there now. What do you use? And is it a little out of control?
It can be. It's all experimental, and we have to remember that. What we're trying to do is what mainstream science refuses to do.
Right.
So we're taking tools, we're taking technologies that may be used for everyday uses for something else, and we're doing what's called crossover technology. So we're taking FM radio, and we're trying to see that if we create some white noise and sweep up and down, maybe we can get something to talk over it. I do agree that if you keep it simple, that's the baseline. That's where you start. In fact, you don't need any equipment. I believe if you have an open mind and you go into that location and you're quiet and you just try and sit there and trust your senses, that's your best tool. Now, if you are going to get some piece of technology, I would say go with a tape recorder and go with an EMF meter, electromagnetic field meter. Mm-hmm. I like using the tri-field meters, the old needle analog rather than the digital. It seems to respond better.
Right.
And that's all you really need to get into this. Now, you can get as fancy as you want. I do sell thermal cameras. I sell night vision gear, a couple thousands of dollars. A lot of paranormal groups, that's kind of their thing. They're like, well, we have a thermal camera, you guys don't, and and whatever. So you can use to spend as much as you want, but keeping it simple is where to start.
With this is my vision of what's going on. I can only imagine if you're a spirit and you're in another dimension. First off, we can't see them, but they could. They most likely see us. They see what's going on, and they're frustrated that they can't speak to us directly and have a conversation, but they can see what's going. And it must be a tormenting type of world to be in because you're constantly dealing with the frustration of not being able to communicate back with us. And when we turn around and say, "Speak to us in the spirit box," or I'm holding up this recorder. And you're asking that energy that they have, they're putting everything that they can into that communication. And it may only be one or two words, but it's probably everything that they've got just to get that little bit of communication out. Is that what's going on?
That's a great insight because I think that's anecdotally, from my experiences and others, that seems to be kind of what's going on. For example, I was in Chicago at a charity event. We went to Crown Point Jail, Indiana, where John Dillinger escaped from. Mm-hmm. And I was with Chad Lindbergh from Ghost Stalkers, and he's an actor as well. And as we're walking around, the very first, I would say 15 minutes of being in this location, we were in Dillinger's cell, and we asked if there's anything here, if they could move something distinctively so that we can hear it. And suddenly, down the hallway, around the corner, we heard a crash. We thought that the rest of the crew was messing with us, right? It was so perfectly on cue.
Right.
Like, come on, guys, quiet down. We're trying to do a recording here. Like, no, something happened. So we go run down the hall. One of these light covers, it's like a bulb, okay, but that goes over the bulb. It's probably 8 feet, 9 feet up on the ceiling. So none of these guys, unless they're really great jumpers, could have leaped up and pulled this thing down. Thing fell down and bounced on the floor. So at first we were trying to figure out this mystery of how it didn't shatter. Well, it was made of plastic, but it fell down at just the right time that it would happen with so much force to come loose. That was all the activity we got all night. And that is pretty significant. When you get objects flying across a room, like you said, it's almost as if they're excited to see you. They're like, here, take this, boom. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I am tired.
Yeah, exactly. It must be everything that they have got just to get something to happen. It just must be every piece, because, like I said, it must be tormenting. It's so frustrating, and then they're just, all the energy that they have just to let you know that they're there. And it's insignificant as it may be, from their side, it's all they got. They ain't got no more.
And I've always wondered if it's like the movie Ghost, like where Sam is trying to be taught how to move a penny, or throw bottles or stuff. Like if it's something they have to practice, or if it's just sort of spontaneously happens when they focus an emotion and it leaks through to our side. Because I think it's more likely they don't always see us, just like we don't always see them. And so maybe it's sort of like kind of breaking through every so often, and the dimensions, realities, whatever you want to call them, sort of cross. And when they cross, they're able to kind of break through and leave a sentence,
right,
a word, or move something.
Are you still in communication with? I'm sure you are. Must be lifelong friendships with your coworkers in the FBI.
A lot of them have left. They left shortly after I did. I always speak highly of my former employers because there's so many great patriotic people there. But as you know, things are changing too. The bigger a bureaucracy is, it doesn't suit everybody, the same, and things are changing. I thought about maybe going to work for different agencies and stuff, and I don't know. It's the people I work with now. It's they've become like real estate agents and stuff like that. It's kind of like it for me. What it was it basically wasn't exactly what I thought. Now I left the door open to go back because I really do love that, and I feel intrinsically satisfied. It feels so good to come home after a hard day's work and feel like, hey, I put somebody really bad behind bars.
Well, do they tell you? Do they make any comments about your chosen career path?
A few of them, yeah. I had a few of them that. See, I didn't tell really any of them that I was on a TV show, and so I started getting some emails, and some of them, that had my phone number from years ago. I think.
Yes.
One of them's an agent up in New York, New Jersey area, and he said, "Are you serious? Me and my kids watch this show all the time, and we just, what came up, and it was like, wait a second, that's Ben." And so, said, well, what are your kids' names? And so it is kind of a strange role to be in, where I'm writing autographs and sending T-shirts, to his kids. And
there you go. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to talk a little bit more when we come back about the FBI and how, Ben, you can apply your knowledge from that to ghost hunting. We'll be back right after this. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Ben Hansen, Fact or Faked.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRAradio.com. Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out.
The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Tepe.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Tonight, Ben Hansen is with us. He hosted Fact or Fiction on SyFy Channel for 3 years. Ghost Hunter, ufologist. Tomorrow night, Jeremy Corbell, artist, director, will be right here. We'll be talking about his new film, it's called Lazar. And then Wednesday night, Jamie Bartlett, and we'll be talking about The Dark Net. But tonight, it's Ben Hansen. Hey, Ben, with all of your... and you were speaking earlier about digital versus analog metering. So let's talk about your BS meter. When you've got all of this accumulated knowledge with interviewing with the FBI, now you are doing this. Has that helped you with your BS meter?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the thing that best transitions from criminal investigations to paranormal is interviewing people. And when I was dating, when I was working for the government, it was hard because we've all been lied to in relationships, right?
Right.
But I was hypersensitive to it, and I was always right. And that's something you don't want to be right about. So when you're investigating a UFO witness, a ghost witness.
You ever want to waterboard one of those guys? Just kidding, just kidding. But you're trying to get to the truth, and I can only imagine if I was somebody that had hoaxed something, you'd be the last guy that I'd want in the room interviewing me because you're going to get to the truth.
Well, and if you get to know me, most people that even see the side of me on TV think I'm like the guy next door, really nice, and I think I am a nice guy. I don't look like I'm very laid back, but I have that switch, and you do have to turn it on because we're looking for nonverbal communications. We're looking for the way people say things. The FBI, law enforcement, people who do this professionally, it's not like TV where you come in and you put them under a hot light, and it's like, just tell us where you put the girl or whatever. Very rarely does that coerce people to talk.
Right.
It's a whole method of befriending them and first making them feel like you really care about what they have to say. And using those same techniques is what we do in paranormal investigating. The main difference is you don't have the same leverage with them, because if you hoaxed a video, so what? What are you going to do? Right? To them, it's just a big joke and they're making money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't hang over their head. You're going to go to jail if you lie to me.
Right.
So it's a bit different.
Right. Oh man, I have to ask this question really quick. This is for me. Just indulge me for a second. Does the FBI investigate paranormal?
They have, and I'm speaking based on my knowledge outside of the Bureau, so I have to make that clear. I know far more about that outside of the Bureau that's public information than anything I may have acquired. I'm not saying that I did. Within the Bureau, because if you look at, for example, the 70s, we know that they were asked and they did do investigations on the cattle mutilations. Yes. Colorado and New Mexico, very prevalent. We also know if you go to the FBI's website, you can see what they call the vault, where they release documents with Hoover and the UFOs and the connections or alleged connections to JFK, things like that. So they were asked. I believe it was by the Air Force, maybe the Army Air Force at the time. They were asked to join in on the investigations. FBI has investigated the subject on numerous occasions, I'm sure. But the rumors, which I know nothing about, the rumors that I hear outside of the Bureau are that they and other agencies have specific divisions, like the X-Files, which within the FBI, they love it, they roll with it, they laugh with it. If you go to the FBI Academy, they've got posters of the X-Files. I went downstairs to the behavioral science unit where Mulder was supposedly working. X-Files, actually, walked down there one day, and the staff members, the pictures of the staff members on the wall, you got all these men and women, and then you've got one that has an alien face, with a name underneath it. So they think it's funny, but I would say anything, if that did exist, it is not common knowledge, and I doubt that 99% of anyone in these agencies knows anything about them.
Did you ever hint or ask questions, or you couldn't? I mean, would that jeopardize your career? But would you, because of your interest, did you ever ask any questions about that?
No, and I think somebody in one of my classes in the academy did, just jokingly, and of course you get a joke back. Nobody, if that did exist, nobody would be in the know. I think it would be, it's more likely that, for example, the Air Force has the special response teams, with what is it, Project Bluebeam or things like that that go and recover discs that come out of a special division, out of Colorado or something. I really, personally, this is my personal opinion, I don't think the FBI would be the agency to investigate nowadays. They don't have that same need to suppress public panic like they did in the 50s and 60s. Now, people like Peter Davenport, he told me once, the National UFO Reporting Center director told me that he knows on good word that they do, that they have, a squad basically of people who respond to these things. That's something I wouldn't know anything about.
Well, I can only assume, you and your friends are out, not you, but me and my friends are out, and we actually see a disc crash, right? Let's just say we're out in the desert and something like that happens. Yeah, you could bet your bottom dollar the FBI will be on the scene. You know that they have to have it. They have to. There's no other, the Air Force showing up. I could kind of maybe.
I don't know. I could see Department of Defense. The response we got a lot of times was the local law enforcement did not want us there. So let's say they come on the scene first. They're probably going to call the Air Force. Once the Air Force gets into it, especially before 9/11, it's a little bit better now, but these agencies did not play well with each other.
Right.
That was one of the big criticisms between FBI and CIA. We didn't share intelligence, and so it still goes on. You'll show up to a bank robbery, and you just kind of sit back and be like, "Hey, we're here if you need us," But we don't want to make them feel like they can't do their job or whatever. The FBI, it was a joke because local law enforcement would tell you that they come in, take all the credit, they spend a lot of money, and then take all the credit for it.
Right.
So.
So being a former child sex crimes investigator, what goes through your mind when you hear those disconnected child EVPs? Those are the ones that scare me the most. How does that affect you?
No, I don't base this on anything. I guess that I could evidence, but it's just my own feeling. Okay, so if we are dealing with, for the most part, entities who have passed that used to, be human or alive here and then they die. If that's the case, personally, I would like to believe that there's a special place for children, and it's not being stuck. It's not sitting there being remorseful about what they did. I personally believe that kids, because of their innocence, they don't, they pass go. They don't stop there anymore. And so I tell people, look, it could be residual, what we call, residual echoes of the past. But if it's actually going on right now, if you ever get a recording of a child that says, please help me, or the child is sobbing, or I had a buddy who, a little boy apparition appeared around a corner of a dresser drawer, ran straight to him and disappeared through him. And he felt like this little boy was reaching out. If you ever have that or the animals, I say be very, very careful.
Why?
If you were a demonic entity, never had a body, and you were trying to lure somebody in and gain sympathy, and you could take pretty much whatever form you wanted, what form would you take?
Right.
And yeah, so I say be careful, because the children asking for help and crying, there are people who think they're ghost whisperers, and more power to them, that they need to release them and go to the light and all that stuff. Leave the kids alone. I don't think that you might be dealing with actual children.
The children would be a honeypot, some type of attraction.
I think so, because it happens, men and women both, and you'll see them in public investigations, and they think they're talking to a child, and they're like, come help me, come sit down next to me, come hold my hand, you can come home with me, I'll help you. I'm like, I wouldn't go there. Yeah, it's either something repeating from the past, that's probable. I have captured what I believe are children's voices on tape recorders, but never ever do anything that you feel an EVP tells you to do, because you don't know who you're talking to.
Can you give me an example of that? You're speaking from experience here, so tell me what happened.
I guess I've had people get an EVP, for example, and it says, go to the boiler room, right? Or something like that. And then I've watched people become more or less temporarily possessed. Or I was in Australia, and people sitting there on a bench, and they feel maybe perhaps a hand stroking them lightly on the hand. And they think it's a child, and they say, come sit here next to me. You can sit on my lap. Next thing you know, their eyes are rolling back into their head, and they've gone into sort of a trance that they almost have a seizure. You can't get them to respond, and once they break free of that, they're breathing really heavy. We have to get them out of the location. It's things like that I just don't think children are suffering on the other side.
Have you had that happen to you, where a spirit or something has tried to take control of you? And what does it feel like when it happens?
I have not investigating. I have had what I believe was one experience as a child with something dark. And there is a big difference between something that's creepy because we don't understand it. Anything that could be a spirit that's departed is creepy because you're sitting in your room and something moves, right? And people even get scratched. I don't think that's necessarily demonic. They are bored. They're frustrated. They can get angry just like you and I. Doesn't have to mean it's demonic. But when you encounter something that is dark and evil and demonic, usually there's no question what you've got yourself into.
Ooh.
I had one experience as a child, and I remember basically telling my parents it was over something stupid, just really stupid. I told them that I hated them, and I was crying, and I was really upset, and I went to my room, and I was screaming. I was just all the ugly things I could think about my parents. And the room got dark, and I looked over, and sitting on the side of the windowsill was a shadow about 3 or 4 foot tall, completely defined, and he had his arms crossed, and he was staring at me.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
And it was so real. It's as if I'm sitting here right now and telling you there's somebody, live standing across the room. It was so real. It was paralyzing. When you encounter something like this, you feel like you are in utter dread. You feel like you will die. It completely takes over to where you can't scream. It's like that nightmare where you can't run. It feels like you're going to die. It is very real. I wouldn't suggest anyone go looking for this. And, it takes, if you're religious, sometimes a lot of praying, a lot of other things to break free of this. And luckily that never happened again. But I've talked to many people who have experiences like this where, weekly, things are happening in their house where they'll wake up with these occurrences or have things flown across the room, hitting them in the head, scratching and biting them, speaking to them audibly, really ugly stuff you don't want to mess with.
How old were you when that happened?
I think I was about 7.
So you're old enough to know reality from not.
Yeah.
How did that change you? And did you go and tell your parents, or did you keep it to yourself?
Oh yeah. No, I was screaming bloody murder. I couldn't. When I finally was able to scream, it sounded like as if someone was attacking me, I'm sure. And my dad came rushing in the room, and as soon as he opened the door, it disappeared, and the room became light again.
Man.
Yeah. And when I could finally, stop sobbing and telling them what happened, they full believed me. And what it did for me, though, was for those who don't believe in a heaven and hell or afterlife or things like that, I mean, that's fine. You got to start somewhere. But for me, my belief in the dark side of things was so strong that I thought, well, this to me is proof that there is light, that there is a heaven, because there's got to be an opposite in all things, and this was so real. So for me, I think it was really a good thing, and knowing the difference and how it feels.
Have you done an EVP of your own house?
Not that house.
No, the one you live in now.
The one, I have in my parents'. I haven't here because I have no reason to believe that the apartment I rent has anything going on. But my parents' house we did because this was interesting. And I would suggest nobody does this.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. With you.
This is like rule number 1. Don't investigate the house you live in, okay? Because if you find something that's disturbing, do you want to keep living there?
Right. No, you don't want to know.
So I remember one night I was visiting them, and I went to sleep, and I was in between that wakefulness and sleep state when you wake up in the morning, right? And you're just kind of between dreams. But I clearly felt the foot of my bed pushed down, and I felt the springs pushed down on my bed. I naturally assumed that my German Shepherd had wandered into the room and just jumped on the bed. So I leaned over and tried to pet him, and now I'm fully awake. The bed is still depressed. I'm feeling around. He's not there. I lean over and I try to feel for an air vent or something that may have, pushed the sheets around. Nothing there. So I kind of kept that to myself until one day we had a big conversation. My family members started comparing notes. My dad had a story of lying in bed and something coming up and stroking his hand. I think my sister had a story of something similar, kind of on her forehead with her hair. Now, you would think to be freaked out right away, but none of us felt like this was malicious. So naturally, they turned to me and was like, "Do you have your equipment with you?" I'm like, "Do we want to do this?" So, take out the meters, take out the auto recorders. But you know what? The moment we started recording, I knew we weren't going to have anything on the recorder. Now, don't tell me how I know this, but I think if people have been good people in this world, it's my feeling that they're busy. They're busy doing productive things on the other side, and they're not stopping to talk to ghost hunters, and they're not trying to communicate through a tape recorder. And I always tell this to people. Look, I don't know how I know this. You can disagree with me, but if your dad, your grandpa, or somebody passes away, don't take out the tape recorder and try to go get answers from him. Because going back to what I said before, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know if that's it. If they really wanted to talk to you, there are plenty of instances where people have them appear in dreams or something else to give them a message. You don't need a tape recorder for that. The people who respond to the tape recorders are those who are frustrated, bored. They're tricksters. They're hoaxsters. They're caught in something, some type of remorse. And we didn't get anything on the tape recorder. And in fact, we felt just the opposite. As soon as we started recording, we felt the whole room become very light, and we all got chills as if something there was protecting us. And it was almost like it was letting us know that it was a good thing. Whoever it was probably related to our family and watching over us. Now, it's creepy. If it's grandpa, like, "Grandpa, hey, choose another way. Don't come, pet my hand. I'm trying to go to sleep."
Right.
But whatever it is, there is a big difference, I think.
Are they, and I understand tricksters, and I'm totally with you on that, but are these necessarily deceased people, or could they be something else entirely?
Yeah, there's always that possibility. The main belief in paranormal investigating is that you have, well, actually more than two types now, because we're talking about those who have departed. So they had physical bodies and now they're dead. Okay, so you're dealing with a spirit energy, whatever you want to call it, the soul. And then you have those who never had bodies, or the demonic. If you're religious, this plays heavily into the biblical accounts of what we call like a war that took place in heaven. And some of us chose to come here and get bodies, and some of us chose to not, and to follow Satan and become one of his followers. Okay, so going along with that, what do they want most? If it's demonic, what do they want most? They want a body, because they can't physically experience what you do. It's highly dangerous, I believe, to encourage that and to tell whoever you think you're talking to, use my body. That's why mediums, more power to them. That's not my thing. I would never say to a spirit, jump inside of me, like on Ghost, and move me around, let me be your conduit. No, you don't know what you're dealing with. That's my personal opinion.
Are you suggesting that The Exorcist was more documentary than Hollywood?
That can happen. Yeah, I think that's very possible, and to a degree, I believe in possessions, and I believe in partial possessions, that somebody could be influenced so much, by an entity or whatever you want to call it, that they can seem completely rational like themselves, but suddenly they snap and they're talking in different voices. If you've given yourself up to that, that's a definite reality.
Well, what about items, dolls, and different? Can spirits take those over too?
I have an open mind to it. I do, although personally I've never had an experience. I guess I'll say it this way. I have seen objects moving by themselves, clearly. It happens actually quite frequently in our public events where we'll have like a water bottle set up and the water bottle comes flying off the thing. It's happened about 3 or 4 times. I don't know if that's frequent, but we've had cameras fly across the room in our TV show on Fact or Faked. Fly across the room and break. Shatter. $1,200 camera thrown across the room. We've had light fixtures, things like that. So if I believe that was pushed by some unseen force, could it inhabit or move, let's say, a doll or something like that? I guess it's possible, although I've never seen it. And I don't know that I buy into kind of the attachment thing. Houses, edifices, things like that, locations, rocks, trees. The theory is that, of course, the energy is recorded onto the environment.
Right.
And so you can take a house and you can transplant it. And I've seen this where they relocate these Victorian homes or whatever to a place in the city that is nowhere near where it was. But it seems like maybe that spirit or spirits tend to reside in that house still because it feels comfortable.
What's scarier, a jail or an old hospital?
I'd probably say a jail.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the nastiest of nasty people. A lot of them have remorse and things they're working through. And I've seen both men and women, but especially if you go to a men's jail, it seems like you get a lot of women who get scratched, who get grabbed. You got to remember these guys haven't, probably had women near them for the time that they were alive in the jail, plus however many years they've been dead. It's something they still crave. If you have an addiction leaving this life, you have that addiction still, unless they work through it somehow.
Are you excited when you go and do a session at a jail? Is that something that you would look forward to because of the anticipated activity?
Yeah. I mean, this past weekend was great. It's like fishing. I tell people who've never done it, it's hours and hours of boredom with a few minutes of real excitement. And as long as they don't have their expectations too high, they won't be disappointed, because you'll have things like we did the other night, things coming off of light fixtures. We had 2 people scratched. I mean, really bad. We had one girl that the scratch was really deep, and it almost looked like it was made with claw marks because of how close together it was. And to us, as long as it's not you, you're like, yeah, cool. Okay, you got scratched. Good job. It's like those things happen. And in the jails, it seems like I don't like to provoke, but sometimes you can say things such as, hey, I was in... where was it? This wasn't a jail. It was Tombstone, Arizona. And Wyatt Earp's third wife, I was down in her brothel room, and I made some little comment, snide. I didn't mean to provoke, but I said something like, I bet your mom was proud of you.
Wrong.
She threw a light, one of our lights, ripped it off the wall and threw it down later that night. So
yeah, that's just a bad idea, Ben. That's just a bad idea out of the word go. What's how many jails have you had sessions at?
Oh, that's a good question. Gosh, I'd probably say maybe half a dozen.
And the scariest one?
Eastern State Penitentiary was pretty good.
Yep.
So is one called Maitland Jail, which is in Australia, just outside of Sydney. We had quite a bit of really good activity there. And, gosh, some smaller ones that I've been to.
What is the vibe like? I mean, Eastern State, it's so famous, but you can tell it's just not a place that you're supposed to go to. You know, go do something else. And so what's it like? Can you feel it when you're walking? I mean, seriously, can you? What's the vibe like? It's positively one of the scariest things. It's a great movie set. You know, I mean, it's a perfect scary environment. What's it like when you set foot in there?
Yeah, you kind of feel like you're being watched. You kind of feel when you go down death row, as well, and you sit in that room. I believe that they have a gas chamber room, and you kind of sit in there, and you feel like you're being watched, and you feel like some of them don't care a thing about you or why you're there, and if they could, they would attack you in the same way they attack their victims. And you get that sense, and so you kind of get a little bit brave, and you're like, come on, and some people really get into provoking. I always kind of mentioned that I worked in law enforcement, things like that, just to see what the reaction is. And then you got people who are trying to be gentle. It's like, what you did it was wrong, but it's okay. And they try all sorts of things to get reactions. But most of the time, you kind of get a feeling like they're just sitting back, they're watching you, and they're saying, you know what? Go and do what you're going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and I don't care what you think. You know, and things start happening.
Yeah, and hospitals too as well. And I think a part of it for me is I'm trying to think of that video game, Silent Hill. Right? I went down the Silent Hill rabbit hole and played all of those video games, and positively one of the scariest things you can ever do, especially if you believe in this stuff. It's really well done.
Is it like Slender Man? Like, well, I've never played it.
I didn't know that. No. But anyway, it's a whole nother it's another dimension that you go into. It's not. But okay, let's not go there. But the part that. The part of Silent Hill that was so terrifying is the hospital sequences in the game, and when you look at some of the stuff that you have done, and of course Zach Bagans too as well, when you go in, it will totally remind you of the terrifying aspects of Silent Hill and the things that reminded you of being really scared. Some of these old abandoned hospitals do that for me too as well. I just wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't. I honestly would not do it. It would just be terrifying for me. What's the old hospital that's here in Los Angeles? That Yorba Linda, or what's the?
Yeah, Yorba Linda. I think they were going to tear it down and then didn't, and who knows? Have
you been inside there?
I have. Stu Grunwald or Scott Grunwald, does his para-horror or whatever it calls at the convention there. And I went there once, but I left before they did the actual investigation. And I wish I would have stayed because other than the lead paint, coming off the walls, you want to lick your fingers. I think it's a great place for investigation.
It's absolutely scary. I just wouldn't do it. I wanted to back up, back to Fact or Faked really quick before we get too much off into another direction. What's the one time where it was fact? The one time where you backed off and said, "Okay, all right, there was something here." There's one event. There's one that was fact. What was that?
Well, there were several, and going back to the title of the show, this is again why I originally hated the title because is it ever fact or do we call it fact, faked, or
Yeah, right.
You know, and I put it in the category because there were things definitely we couldn't explain. One of my favorites was a case in the UK where somebody on Facebook who I was acquaintances with had told me about this woman who was sincerely traumatized by an event that she believed was sort of an alien abduction. And she's Muslim by faith. It's very taboo, very Orthodox Muslim to actually speculate on these types of things. They're very big into the jinn and interdimensional stuff, but aliens, no, we don't talk about that. We don't go there. And it was hard for her to talk about it. So when we talked with her, she wanted to remain anonymous at first. We flew out to the UK because what had happened is she had a classic UFO saucer sighting and abduction scenario where she saw a UFO outside of her bedroom window, tried to wake up her husband. Husband wouldn't wake up. She clearly remembers being conscious and not falling asleep as she laid down thinking about this. Next thing you know, she feels like her body was floating up and down the hallway, and she finds herself in an operation room with very real entities kind of performing experiments and doing some nasty things. And then she woke up in the morning. So she kind of has this foggy memory, but remembers that she was clearly awake type of a deal. Well, she was so terrified that she told her husband she wanted him to set up some type of recording device. So I know what this sounds like because the husband happens to be a DVR salesman. Okay, so believe me, we looked into this. So he has some of these demo units. He puts a DVR. How convenient, right? But he has equipment, sets it up in the bedroom, and she was so afraid she literally tied a string from her wrist to his wrist because if she felt like she was going to get taken throughout the night, she wanted to make sure that he was woken up. And when we interviewed this lady, I felt her sincerity so real that she acted as if somebody who was a victim of sexual assault. It was a very real thing for her, very emotional. That type of thing is very difficult to fake. Well, so we have that. Well, what about what happened? Well, she woke up a couple of days later and felt like something had happened throughout the night. So husband went to work. He says, go ahead and play the tape back, see if there's anything there. Well, it's a DVR. And if anyone's tried to pull video off of a DVR, it's usually some proprietary Chinese like software you have to have, and it's very complicated to fake or put anything on there. Well, sometime during the night, you witness the bed sheets dissolving into the mattress, and her form, which is right next to her husband's, disappears. The bed sheets flatten out. 13 minutes pass. And suddenly you start to see the sheets gather again together in her form. And her husband rolls over and boom, she's back in bed. Now, this was so crazy to us because it's not even necessarily like a classic abduction scenario. We're talking about someone dematerializing and then reappearing. That's really hard to swallow.
And it's hard to CGI too.
Very difficult.
Yes.
So after talking with her, we went through some really good experiments. And yes, I believe our best experiment was we cut a hole in the mattress. And we actually took a hydraulic lift and put Jael on the lift. And in the part of the disappearance, I activated the lift, made her disappear through the mattress, and then reappear just by turning the lift on and bring her back up on this platform. I think it did a very good job of replicating it. But you have to imagine what tremendous amount of effort this would have taken with somebody that I believe it had to have been the husband and it's the most cruel hoax you could ever play on somebody. So sometime while she's out of town, he cuts a hole in her mattress.
Right.
And films somebody else in the bed to look like her, and then imports that file, onto her DVR just so he can torture his wife. And, interviewing him, I feel like he was also very truthful. And what I really appreciate about him is he told me flat out, I said, could you have hoaxed this? He says, I do understand DVR technology. I guess if I wanted to, I probably could have done it. Now, somebody who's that honest with me, I really like.
Where's this video now?
It's made the rounds on YouTube. I know the copy, the cleanest copy, they still have in that file format. It took us forever to find something to actually download the original file. And what we did is we found software and we took it to JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratories. And of course, they've done NASA and FBI forensic work, and they could not find any indication that it had been manipulated with CGI, which is great. So they did say, if there is an explanation for this, it's possible that she was in the bed the whole time, because if you look at an area where it looks like her foot is, it could be sort of an optical illusion and she just turned in some weird way. But if you go online, and I think it's on YouTube. I think you have to pay for that episode, but the original file's got to be out there just on YouTube. And if you look at it, it's such a strange disappearance. It would be the strangest illusion you've ever seen. So I'm not saying either way that we know she was taken anywhere, that she dematerialized. I think we're far from being able to say that. But it is one of the stranger cases to where we could not say that it was hoaxed. We could not say there was a definite natural explanation. I'm still in touch with her, still trying to find out if she has things going on and if we can solve it.
When you first saw the video, Ben, going back to your analog BS meter, right? And you're so you're acclimated to seeing different things and people presenting different things to you. And right away, the first time that you saw this video, what happened to your heart and your adrenaline? Were you just like, holy crap?
Yeah, exactly. Because like me, I'm sure you get people send you a lot of pictures and a lot of videos, and like, do you see my grandma in the back? And like her face is in the window there, and you're like, I'm so sorry, I see nothing. And when I first heard about it, I'm like, yeah, send me the video. I'm sure, it's clearly not anything very interesting. But as I played it, I was floored. We got to do this case. Like, I can't afford just to, on my own, gather up my equipment, fly to England. If I could, I would. So, I was calling up the producers of the show. I want to present this on the show. Whatever it takes, we need to do this case. And I was very happy that we could do it through the context of the show, because, I've presented this at the UFO Congress. She is willing to come out and to speak about it, but it hasn't quite got the attention I feel that it needs to. I think it's a really good case that if we put our heads together, we might be able to figure out what's going on.
How was your recreation? How did that go for you?
Well, we did three things, and the first one was basically just kind of have Jael roll out of bed. I played the role of the husband. She rolls out of bed, and that looked nothing like it. The second thing we did was we took what they call dunnage bags, which when you transport things by semi-truck, freight, they fill these big bags filled with air to kind of, support the cargo and make sure it doesn't get crushed in the back. So we inflated one of these things with a hydraulic pump really, really quick, and then sucked out the air with a vacuum. And we put that under the bed to try to create this form. That didn't work so well. It was finally when we cut the mattress up and put a hydraulic platform under it that I think that was a really good match. And we got a lot of criticism because a lot of times we'd match things and, the way that the show is edited, it makes it sound like, yep, that's the answer. Yep, looks like you guys did it. Wherein you really have 6 different opinions, and not everybody agrees with the opinion that made the cut in the show.
Right.
So just because we replicate something, that's not the point. Just because we replicate it does not mean that's what happened. It just means that maybe we came pretty close, and, we should consider that.
I've got to see this video. I remember the show, and it's just it's stirring emotions in me. I remember thinking the same things that you're suggesting now. That quite possibly, well, the ability to peel and replace stuff on a DVR is difficult, and you would know in a forensic sense if that hard drive was manipulated. I don't know how you would go back, because it's not a computer, and you would go back and interrupt that file with this. I don't know. And were you able to determine that the hard drive wasn't messed with?
Well, that's what JPL says. The file itself didn't look like they had applied After Effects or an animation program. So basically, you'd have to download this file, take it into something like After Effects, and add a composite layer to it.
Right.
An animation of some sort, degrade it so it matches, the rest of it, and then re-upload it, into the DVR, which in itself is very tricky to do because they have these funky, coding systems.
With the prevalence of the internet and CGI and Photoshop, I know that you're looking at photographs, the same ones that we see on Facebook feeds and stuff. I remember an episode where, and I want you to remind us of what this was, but it was a photograph of a UFO. And it was a reflection of a lamp or lights inside the room, and it looked real to me at that time. And there's a whole plethora right now of photographs like this going around on the web. How quickly can you guys get to that determination? And do you remember that specific episode that I'm talking about?
What was the reflection of?
It was a UFO. It was an object, but it was like a lamp in the room.
Oh, okay. Well. What I always tell people is, whether you're ghost hunting or think you see something at UFO, take your pictures, take lots of pictures, but then look at your camera while you're there, because I can't tell you how many times people say, I never saw this thing, like standing behind our investigator, and there it was. I'm like, you can't ever go back and exactly replicate the conditions, and so that's what we try to do. We found in Tombstone, we found a coffee grinder that was casting a shadow on the wall, and that same coffee grinder was still there. In that particular case, you're talking about a lamp in the room. I think I vaguely remember that. You just got to get to the location, set up the exact camera angle you think it was. We try to use their camera or the exact same model, and we just start snapping away. And we start moving things around in the room, start looking at different things. That first step is, we don't assume they're hoaxing. We try to see if there's something naturally that could explain it. If we can't do that, then we say, okay, what if I intended for this object to show up? What would I have done? What could I have done? So that's the next step.
Okay, I'm looking at the video now, by the way.
Oh, I was getting ready to post it for you.
Yeah, hey, our audience is way on the case. Way on the case. So I'm looking at it here. Okay, and it's not too. It's bad radio for me to just sit here and stare at this. So okay, well, I'm looking now. All right, that's.
Now, I don't know what version they have of that. We're probably looking at the same link. I just tweeted it at Ben Hansen 00, HANSEN 00. I just tweeted it. It's probably the same version you're looking at. And who's this guy? Robo Brawler? The username?
This one is Sergey.
Okay, yep, that is another version of this. I'm looking at a black and white version. That one's sort of pinkish.
Yes, this one is sort of pinkish, yes.
Okay, I think The one I've got is probably a little bit better because it looks like they just copied it off of our show.
Oh, you know what? That's exactly what this is. Okay, let me go back. Let's do this in real time. Let's make this really bad radio. And okay, I've got yours up here. Okay, just let me go to the... yes. This is the original video. I see. Yeah. Oh.
And see what happened before we could actually pull that file off was because they were afraid the DVR would record over itself, they do what everyone does, and they took their cell phone camera, and that one by the other guy, Sergi, whatever, they were videotaping the screen, the monitor. So when we actually got the raw file and we put it on the show, I believe that version is coming directly off the file, or it could be them filming it as well. But you'll see how she disappears. Now, again, reminding viewers, this is not real time. This is sped up. We obviously couldn't show you 13 minutes of nothing.
Right.
While she was gone. So it's definitely sped up, but you'll see her dissolve. Sheets go in, then it will cut. You see her reappear, and then her husband on the left does a turn as he reaches up, I think, to the light behind him, and he turns around. So that's kind of the sped up version, and it just amazes me, though, how flat these sheets get, and she really looks like she's gone.
Okay, I've watched this 20 times now, and that's pretty creepy. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. And when he raises his arm and rolls over, what happens after that? Does he reach for her and she's not there?
Well, what you mean? She reappeared.
She's reappeared.
Yeah.
So he reaches over and okay.
So he reaches over and to him it's as if nothing happened. The other video you were looking at where they filmed off the screen.
Yeah.
That includes a little bit more of the time in between. But if you watch the counter on the bottom, you'll see that she's fast forwarding it. So you'll see it speed up, and then she pushes play right when she reappears again.
I'll let everybody know now that ever listens to this show in the future, YouTube or the podcast or whatever. This is live. We'll have the links up to this video on the website. Just go to Ben Hansen's name, and we'll put that in his little bio there, so you can see this in the future. That's pretty whack. I'm with you on that. I'm feeling the same thing that you. I don't see.
It's got that icky, kind of like funkiness to it, and we also had a case. Probably the case we got most comments on was a case that we called the night crawlers, and this happened just outside of Fresno, where I guess I can say this because people kind of need to understand how illogical it is to think this guy hoaxed a thing. So MUFON up there in Fresno gets a hold of this guy he's a Spanish man, DVR system again. He is having his rose bush trampled and feels like there's kind of intruders, the kids or somebody, doing something in the lawn and trampling his bushes. And so the dogs are barking in the neighborhood too. So he sets up this camera and captures two entities that look like a pair of walking pants. There's no other way to describe it. It's like a pair of trousers that are walking on their own. They kind of have like a little head on the top. They flow. One of them looks kind of like it has a robe of some sort.
Right.
And we called these the night crawlers. If you look in perspective in that episode, I wasn't on this one. My other half of my team, they tried replicating it with an actual child, that was probably 3 feet tall. These entities, whatever they are, were probably smaller than that. And he actually had rose bushes, that he said that were pushed down and destroyed as these things marched towards the window of the front of the house, and then we don't know where they went. Now, why do we think that he probably didn't hoax this? Well, according to Bill Murphy, my other team lead, and the other guys, I think they got a pretty good handle on this guy. He's not very technical savvy. They just kind of got the feeling, I don't know how to say this nicely, but he's not techie. It's not that he's not intelligent. He's just not the type of guy that even probably understood how his DVR worked. So, having said that, he also did not want to come out with a video. He's an undocumented, he's an illegal immigrant. He didn't want any attention drawn to him in the news or anything. It took us coercing him to come onto the show and making all sorts of promises that, hey, look, I don't think we promised him that we would say he's undocumented because I just broke that promise.
Okay.
No, I don't think we said that. But we said, look, we're going to treat this seriously. We're not going to give out your personal information where people are going to be harassing you or whatever. So if you go look at this video, if somebody had hoaxed this, I say it had to be CGI. There's really no other way around it. You go and try and make a puppet that does this like we did.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be CGI. And again, you're going to have to sneak it onto this guy's DVR system somehow because we don't think that he was involved or had knowledge of it. So, again, a very funky, weird, what are these things? Are they really on camera? What's going on?
The first time that I saw the Fresno Nightcrawlers, it was something, because when I look at stuff like that, I immediately, even before I see it, I just want to see somebody with an impressive CGI ability. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm cool with that. I really am. I want to see the famous, there was, and I know you remember these videos, the Santa Clarita UFO videos, and there was a guy that did a set of videos out of it was like Puerto Rico or something, Dominican Republic, of these amazing craft flying over a car,
right?
Crazy detail. Well, okay, you know what? Hats off to you. You've got some talent, and these are fun to look at. And I immediately look at it from that perspective. When I saw the Fresno Nightcrawler videos, I backed up and went, man, this is friggin' weird. And the reason why, Ben, it's not that when somebody tries to hoax something, something crawling on its back, or a ghost, or something dissolving through a lamppost, or whatever, they go for the fantastical. But that's not what you got from the Fresno Nightcrawlers. It was like, who would hoax? Why go there?
Exactly. What kind of acid trip were you on?
Right.
When you're thinking about what am I going to hoax today? How about a pair of walking pants?
Yes. And that's what I remember the first time I was like, wow, you know what? Something's real here. I thought that maybe the camera wasn't picking up the rest of the body for some reason. It was some kind of lighting artifact. I looked at it like that, but I thought it was fantastic, and I also thought it was real. We're up against a hard break here. Let's go ahead and take that, and let's get this out of the way. Tonight, Ben Hansen is with us, Fact or Fake, ghost hunting, ufologist, man of the world, FBI agent. You got to love that on the old resume. And we'll be back right after this, and this is Fade to Black, and for some reason, my audio. Oh, I had to mute the audio for the video that we were watching earlier. Okay, so I'm going to do a slow fade. We'll be back right after this.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Are you a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, or UFO skywatcher? If so, FNGinnovations.com has the product you definitely need in your investigations kit or go bag. Introducing the Morpholite Wide Beam Tactical Flashlights that put the light where you need it most. Traditional flashlights shine a focused round beam with limited line of sight in the dark. Morpholite Tactical Flashlights change all that, utilizing a revolutionary wide beam design to enable you to see safety hazards such as is hanging wires and steel, pipes, and holes in the floor you just can't see with a focused round beam. In the field, where safety is paramount, a 180-degree beam increases orientation and peripheral vision in the dark. Morpholite flashlights are ideal for investigations in abandoned facilities such as houses and hospitals, factories, caves, and tunnels. Avoid those low-hanging tree branches that poke your eyes in the woods. Visit fnginnovations.com to see a full line of tactical lights and accessories. That's fnginnovations.com.
Now you can find all your favorite talk radio shows live, all in one place at TalkStreamLive.com. Listen from anywhere, office, home, or in your car. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com and click on one of the many live talk show hosts you want to listen to. It's free and easy. No computer? Download the smartphone apps. Never miss your favorite talk show. Find them all at TalkStreamLive.com.
Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out. The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony. Damn
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Tonight, very special guest Ben Hansen is with us. He hosted Factor Fakes on the SyFy channel for 3 seasons. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, artist-director Jeremy Corbell will be with us. And then on Wednesday, Jamie Bartlett, live from the UK for the Dark Net discussion. All right. Hey Ben, what was I've got the Nightcrawler video up here. Hold on for a second. I've got to mute my audio because that's on another computer. But I'm going to watch this. Let me get this fired up. Okay. What was the one case where you thought you had something and then you tore it apart?
We had a case in Bodega Bay, California, that there was this orbish light. Bodega Bay is where The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock, was filmed. There was a movie called The Fog that was filmed up there because it really has a lot of fog, and it's a really cool place, really beautiful. And this guy was looking out his a house that is kind of built up, I'd probably say at an elevation of just 100 feet or so up off the bay. And he's looking out one night, and he sees this light, and it's hovering silently, going back and forth, really, really gently just above the water, so brightly that it's causing a reflection. And there was a little bit of fog, which adds to the eeriness, and the thing goes back and forth and then just disappears. And the fact that it was silent and that it was moving in this kind of mysterious way, looked like it was a light that was searching for something on the ground and not like a helicopter. So I really, really liked this case. I thought that, hey, for sure, I've got friends up in not that far north, but up near Big Sur, who have filmed bluish orbs coming in off the ocean. And, there's quite a few reports of similar things happening. I thought we've got one on tape now. Well, get up there, and the first thing I think that we tried was using one of these big, I forget even what they're called. When you go down the freeway and they're doing construction at night and they fill these things with helium that they kind of bounce the light off. Gosh, I can't remember the name of them. But they're used in Hollywood as well to just light up a big area. And it's basically you have a light inside of a balloon, and you let the thing go up and it lights up the whole area. So we're thinking, okay, well, maybe somebody was doing some construction or filming down by the bay's edge, and the thing could have got loose, or maybe whatever. It didn't work. Didn't work really at all, because we can't move this thing around. And it doesn't make sense why anyone would have one down there. So then we tried the helicopter. And having the searchlight and the helicopter going back and forth, from the distance we were at his house, clearly we could hear the helicopter. It was loud. And if the searchlight is not pointed at you, it looks very different. When it's going down on the water back and forth, it's not bright and consistent. So I'm getting excited. And I'm like, okay, this is it. We've done it. This is it. Well, I reached back to my former days as a high school student and got out the trigonometry book. I literally, I had to go searching for it before I left on the trip. And looked up, how can there's got to be some way. And I was actually quite proud that I figured this out, because no one in ufology I know has presented this formula. But see if you can picture this. You're on a cliff. You're looking down at an object in the sky over water. And that object is also casting a reflection on the water. If you know your altitude up on this cliff, and you know how far out you are from that reflection in the water, I said there's got to be some way that we can tell the altitude and the size of the actual object. And I worked it out. I actually published this years ago on Twitter for anyone that wanted to see it. But I actually found a way to using trigonometry to get the altitude of the object and where it would theoretically be placed. And what I found was it was probably about 30 feet off the water, and I think it was maybe like 3/4 or half a mile out. So 30 feet. Okay, we're not looking at something that's way up in the sky, and I'm still really excited about this. This is some UFO that's searching for something. Well, our final experiment, we decided to get a ship that had these big mercury lights on it.
Yep.
Sure enough, add a little bit of fog, and almost exactly to the foot, it was about 28 or so, 30 feet up on this mast is this light. And what was happening was the combination of the fog diffusing the light. When the boats come into the harbor, they take a specific path through the buoys to make sure that they don't go aground. And so it goes left and then it goes right. And there it was. So everyone else is like, yeah, we solved it. And I was deflated.
You were bummed.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it was intentional deception?
No, not at all. I feel the guy was telling the truth.
He just didn't know.
Yeah, I think it's just a combination of that night and the fog. He'd never really sat outside and watched. It's only a certain time of year too. I think they were either crabbing or lobstering, and when these big boats come in, so they're not always there. So he didn't recognize it as that, and they're very quiet when they're trolling. Coming into the bay, you practically can't hear them from that distance.
No, you can't. You can't hear boat motors at all, hardly. What was your favorite? Well, ooh.
I'm sorry. I think my wife set off the smoke alarm.
Okay. Is she on the case? Okay, good.
She's put it out. She's heating up the deep dish Chicago pizza.
I don't want. Oh, really? What do you have?
Well, I brought back some Giordano's.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh man, what's your address?
She was so happy. See this thing, but see what she wanted to know was how long was it sitting out? Was the cheese, how long did you leave it overnight? I said, no. I put it in the fridge, and it was only out for the 4 hours of the flight, and I had to convince her to eat it, and now she won't stop.
No, it is truly the best. About 5, Rita would have to post this, but I'm going to guess here. It was about 5 years ago. Went to a party in the Hollywood Hills, and at this party, they had shipped in frozen, on dry ice, Giordano's by the case.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, at the end of the party, the person that had the party goes, "Hey man, take whatever you want." And I brought home, I'm going to say probably a dozen Giordano's.
Oh.
Frozen, and just pop it in the oven.
Oh.
And we did that for about 2 weeks, every single
And how
night.
much weight did you gain?
You know what? Does it matter? That is one of those indulgent. You know what? It just doesn't matter.
And they're so heavy, and it's only good pizza if the cheese, by the time you're done with that piece, you're cramping. You're like, yep, this is good.
Yeah. Well, I went to Giordano's in person, probably 10 years ago, 2003, 2002. And I went there on business. And the first thing the people I was with, what do you want to do tonight? Where do you want to go? I said, Giordano's, dude. All right, let's go. So we go. And this is the crazy thing and they're so used to it there, But anyway, so the pizza, everybody's got that, your own pizza, you don't think. And the waitress comes to the table, and she knows you are going to only eat one piece.
Yep,
you know what I'm saying? You are going to box the rest of the pizza and take it home. That's it. It's 2.5, 3 inches thick. It is insane. And there's nothing like Giordano's, man. Nothing like Giordano's.
Yeah, and you can actually, they will put it on dry ice and overnight it to you. I just discovered it because I ordered one from, actually, I think she ordered it for me when we were dating. One time, it was a different restaurant, but I didn't know Giordano's does it. So there you go. There's a nice plug. They can pay us later.
Yeah, exactly. Giordano's. You know what's funny? Whenever you type, you put something in a Twitter, the bots that are out there for companies like Giordano's, and then suddenly you'll see ads in your Twitter feed.
Yeah.
It's real.
Same with Facebook. Are you looking for pizza tonight?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big coffee guy, and I used to joke around on this show about Starbucks, and I would post in the Twitter feed. Okay, we're getting ready for tonight's show. Tonight I'm doing Starbucks Brazilian estate roast, right? And then, sure enough, Starbucks would start following me. You know what I mean? And they were me to do the follow back. And then suddenly I'm getting these Starbucks email. It was like really weird how they've got those bots working these days.
Well, they should be sending you free stuff.
Oh, they should. Starbucks doesn't endorse any. That's really funny. They don't advertise. You don't see.
That's true.
How successful are you where you don't even have a TV commercial?
Well, you'd think McDonald's would ever need one.
Yeah, there's no Starbucks commercial. There isn't a Starbucks NASCAR. You know what I mean? if you think about that for a second, think about that. Everybody else it doesn't matter. Lowe's, Budweiser, name Cobalt Tools, whatever. There's a NASCAR for every successful company in the United States, and but there is no Starbucks. You don't see Junior, in a Starbucks car.
That's true.
Yeah, isn't that really? Think about how good are you that you don't care?
It's slowly them and Subway. I guess you only see commercials if you need to change your reputation. So now they got to start doing some explaining for Jared or something.
Oh man, how quickly you how to end your career in a day.
Yeah, exactly.
So now what were we just talking about? No, Giordano's right before that. Yeah. So aside from the one up in Morro Bay, you did a lot of UFO investigations on Fact or Faked. And give me another one that you were able to, or one of your favorites.
I'm sorry. So, what are my favorites of the
UFO stuff?
UFO stuff. Well, I think the best footage we ever captured. Again, this one I wasn't with the team, but I believe it wasn't too far out from Gulf Breeze, Florida, down in the Panhandle, and there was a gentleman who had recorded a light that was hovering behind some a grove. I'm not sure what type of trees, but it was brackish water. So in comes the ocean tide, and you go up these out inlets, and here he's driving along, and he pulls over and films some semicircle looking orb, I guess you would call it, behind the trees. And it was silent. It looked very spectacular, kind of like a Hollywood special effect with the beams of light coming through. And my team was thinking, okay, well, this clearly has got to be something he knew what it was, or he's hoaxed it, because it's like right there and bright. So they tried some things. They tried, I think, using an ATV. They tried using a boat with lights on it. And then they did, I believe they used some type of a drone or something like that. A Globo, I think is what it was called, that was sort of like a lit up LED type of a thing. Came okay, sort of close. Well, we weren't satisfied. So what we did is we had Devin stay back at base camp, and we set up. Now, this is something I don't think we've done enough of in ufology, is using something other than, just night vision cameras. And I sell those, but we're looking at other spectrums of light now, which I've been experimenting with, thermals and full spectrum cameras. Because everyone who does ghost hunting, we're familiar with, hey, we look at the UV and the IR spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So we set one of these up, and that's out looking towards the water. And there's a pier, is what they said, sort of like a tiny little pier to tie up boats at the end of the screen. And Bill and Lanisha go out on a boat, and they go around this corner. And Bill says to me, he says, Ben, while we were there, I swear to you, on the back side, and I think we had, I don't know if it was video, we had still photographs of this. He said, I swear to you, there was a greenish light in the middle of the grove of trees.
I remember that. They were in a little boat by themselves.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
And he says, we're watching this orb kind of hovering in between some trees, and I'm thinking sort of like Travis Walton case. But this thing is much smaller. He says it's probably, he would guess, maybe size of a basketball or something, kind of hovering there. And all at once, it's like it implodes, sucks up into a pinpoint and disappears. Now, at the same time they're witnessing this, Devin either wasn't paying attention or couldn't visually see it with his own eyes. He doesn't really report anything. But they get back to base camp, tell them about this exciting thing they've seen. When they replay the tape, I'm like, Devin, were you not watching the screen? How could you not see this? Because you see a light shoot up from the grove of trees, pause briefly, and take off to the left. I mean, at lightning speed, it streaks. It's a 90-degree turn.
Right.
And I was blown away. So here's now. I don't mean to get down on the productions, great people that we worked with, but when you live and breathe this stuff, and how excited we captured this on tape. Where is this original tape? Where is it? Where is it? I gotta have this. And they're like, well, when they go back to the studio, they ingress, or they download all the stuff into the server, and because they deal with so many TV shows, it's stored on the server until the show's done, and then they usually just delete all the original stuff.
Ooh.
And I was lucky enough to be able to get the original file off of it, but we couldn't find the cassette it was recorded on. So we had a pretty good copy of it, but this particular piece of footage, it's what I use in my lectures to try and tell people, this is incredible. I know for a fact, and I trust this came from a source, my team that I trust. This was not fake. This is not CGI. It's incredible footage. You cannot describe, this is not a helicopter. This is not a drone. And when people see this and they see it slow down and how it zooms out, it's not a bug. You'll see the reflection, which is, I believe he told me it was about 100 yards at least. In the distance, you see a reflection on the water.
Yes.
That tells us it's not happening right in front of camera.
Right.
It's not a bug caught on IR.
No, I remember that. I totally remember that. I would like to see that footage again, too, as well. And the original cassette, the original DV is gone?
It's gone. I tried looking around for it. They don't reuse those. I don't know if they actually file those things or trash them, but we couldn't. The editors couldn't find it. So I really do want to go back to this place. I will spend a week or two, and it's supposedly a hot spot where this guy has seen other things, and I'll bring down my thermal cameras and my night vision and see if we can capture it again, because as you know, these hotspot locations where things reoccur, it could be a window of a few days, a few weeks, a few months, and then it could go quiet for a while, like Gulf Breeze, and maybe never kind of return. But when you find some location like that, you got to hop on it, and you got to go there and whatever you can do to quit your day job, try and go capture this stuff. So yeah, to me that was really, really exciting.
Well, let me ask you about night vision. When you are looking at the night sky and you want to see something and you break out some night vision, what are you actually seeing, and do you recommend it?
I highly recommend it. I got into it because we had used the production cameras filmed through what are called astroscopes, which is Generation 3 night vision. Same stuff that you saw in Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and the news reporters go over there, military grade stuff. Well, what Generation 3 night vision does is amplifies light about 50,000 times. So we use it for production cameras, but it wasn't until, I would say, probably no more than about 5 years ago, where they started becoming really popular for UFO enthusiasts, or what we call sky watchers. It's kind of code word for, we're looking at the sky, but this is what we're looking for.
Right.
It hadn't really become popular until recently because of the types of things we're seeing. So if you go look in the night sky, let's say the meteor shower that just happened, they're bragging about you'll see a meteor every, maybe 100 per hour. Okay, that's not many more than, 1 per minute, 1.5 per minute. But if you have night vision, you have Generation 3, and I go hook that up to an iPhone or to my DSLR camera, and we have adapters that do that, I'm probably seeing that every night, like 1 or 2 meters, because you're picking up little lights and things that you just can't see with a naked eye. So will it enhance your ability to see objects? I can go out just after dusk, usually about 3 hours after, and I can see 90% more satellites than I would see otherwise. And it's these satellite-type objects that people are reporting, and which I've seen personally, that are traveling in a straight line, which would appear to be the same altitude as a satellite, and all of a sudden, they start doing 90-degree turns, S-turns, going off in different directions.
Are there satellites that have that capability that you know of?
Not conventional. No. If you read up about satellites, there's a few consistent things. Number one is that rarely will you see a satellite go from east to west. When they launch them, they try to use the Earth's rotation to kind of help propel it into the sky. So it'll go the other way from west to east or north to south, but rarely the other way. The other thing that you'll see is that it would be a very rare chance in your life if you saw a satellite make a correction. they have tiny little propulsion jets that just kind of spurt on and off if you need to stop it from spinning on its axis or need to correct its course or give it a little nudge.
Right.
But those are so minute. The amount of fuel and energy required to make an entire course correction when you're traveling at 17,500 miles an hour
right.
is huge.
How many people mistake the ISS for a UFO with night vision? Well, you can see it with the naked eye anyway, but...
Yeah, I think that happens quite a bit. I also think that if you haven't seen a planet or one of the brighter stars as it's kind of scintillating through the atmosphere and becomes brighter and dimmer and it seems to change colors, if you haven't really seen that, you could get quite excited about it. So what I tell people is like, look, it even if you stare at it long enough will look like it's kind of bouncing around a bit. That's good. Take out the apps. The apps are great. They can tell you kind of what you're looking at in the sky. That can help kind of debunk whatever. But what we're talking about are things that are traveling in a definite straight line, and then they start changing or stopping.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in depth. Do you want to take some phone calls?
Sure, we could do that.
We've got some phone calls coming in. So let's just let's go to this first. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Ben Hansen. Who's calling?
Hi, Ben. This is Dino. Hi there, Jimmy.
How are you, Dino?
Hey, Dino.
A little tired. The weather has been very odd. I still think there's weather engineering. But I wanted to ask you, you were with the agency, correct?
Yes.
You know, and I'm not putting you down, but, you know, there's a lot of strange people seem to come out of that FBI. Like, we got, you know, J. Edgar Hoover was a weirdo, you know. I'm not saying you are, but, I mean, I can see why you're no longer with the agency when you see it and you're open to so many new things. Because I keep thinking of Jack Webb, the facts, you know, when you're in law enforcement. But I wanted to ask, what are your feelings, or do you know anything about UFOs over battlefields in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then a lot of people were tweeting over on Twitter on our show about the Black Knight satellite. Do you think that's a hoax or something real?
Oh, great question, Dino. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Sure, thanks, Dino. On your first point, what's I think a lot of people would find interesting is that a lot of law enforcement, they are very open to this subject, and you just have to pull them away from their squad. You know, like when I go and talk and lecture, I have so many people come up and tell me that they're police officers or that they work for such and such federal agency, and they will talk to you when they know it's safe. Police officers with ghost hunting or with witnessing UFOs, it's just the culture is like with pilots, you just don't really talk about it officially to other people because they're gonna make fun of you.
Right.
But I would think that if you really get into this with people, you'll find that they're very open-minded because they're out exploring things that they run into anytime. So, anyways, that part. As far as you know, UFOs over battlefields and things. Yeah, I think you could make a case, definitely, and that's a common theme that we see a lot of books written about, lectures, with why are they attracted to what we call like a critical event in history, whether it be a war, we're ready to go to war, or we have these natural disasters. The sad thing is that the hoaxers take advantage of this.
Yes.
And anytime you're now going to see the Olympics, anytime you're going to see an earthquake in Chile, guaranteed within the next couple of days you're going to have videos coming out of people saying there were UFOs there.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that they weren't, but out comes the CGI, out comes the conspiracies. The Queen of England is going to disclose at the London Olympics, and so. It's sad, but I think that that if you look at the original cases, like in the Iraq War, and you talk to the military officers, and you can kind of pull them aside. I've talked to many of them who, with their troops, witness things.
Let's take our last break, and when we come back after this break, I'm gonna ask the last part of Dino's call was the Black Knight satellite, and I want to stay on satellites and night vision. Our guest tonight is Ben Hansen. I am your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be back right after this short break. This is Fade to Black. Follow us on Twitter, by the way, at JChurchRadio. Oh, I did it again. I'm watching videos. You've got me addicted. I'm watching videos and not paying attention to my own show. I'll be back right after this. This is Fade to Black on KGRA, The Planet. Be back right after this.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Attention, all Fadernauts. Studio Dome has a special deal on their SD1 Bluetooth speaker. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on their banner, enter the promo code Jimmy, and you get $40 off and free shipping on the SD1. It's voice activated, comes with a USB antenna, cables, and a carry bag. Never listen to your phone, tablet, or laptop speakers ever again. It's the only way to listen to Fade to Black. That's JimmyChurchRadio.com, Studio Dome banner, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
Hey everybody, what's up? Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and check this out. The 2015 MUFON Symposium will be held this September 24th through the 27th in beautiful downtown Irvine, California. Expanding ufology, opening new doors in academia, industry, and media. Former Defense Minister of Canada Paul Hellyer will be there in person. Former CNN news anchor Cheryl Jones, TV news journalist Jaime Maussan, and MUFON's chief photo analyst Mark D'Antonio. They're just a few of the growing list of names for the 2015 event. It's September 24th through the 27th at the beautiful Hotel Irvine. Get your tickets today at MUFONSymposium.com. That's MUFONSymposium.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Opening up the phone lines, 323-825-5045, 323-825-5045. We got time for a couple of calls. Tonight, Ben Hansen is with us, host of Factor Faked on SyFy for 3 seasons. Tomorrow night, artist and director Jeremy Corbell will be with us, and then on Wednesday, Jamie Bartlett, live from the UK, for an evening of the dark nets. Ben, the Black Knight satellite, were you ever able to see that on night vision?
No. I would like someone to point out to me where it supposedly is. I mean, it's way out there in deep space. We do have a couple people who what they've done is they've constructed their own telescopes and put a lot of money into it, and then they'll put night vision. I think in front of the afocal or in front of the eyepiece, so that further enhances the light ability, and so they can see far and they can see enhanced light, and I would like to see kind of what they're coming up with. I do know one thing that came from a pretty reliable source. A friend of mine named Mitch Waite, and Mitch unfortunately passed away this year. He was kind of known as the Mogollon monster hunter. Okay, so Arizona has its own Bigfoot. This was the guy who went looking for him. And aside from Bigfoot hunting, he was an officer. I can't remember his rank. Colonel, I believe it was, who worked in Cheyenne Mountain for NORAD. And I tried. Of course, you never know when someone's going to pass away. I really wanted to to kind of do a documentary about him, about his work. His job was a liaison. I believe his title was something to the effect of off Earth activities, something liaison to the Air Force. Okay, through NORAD. So he would sit in front of radar screens, and of course, NORAD at Cheyenne Mountain, when it was active, was their job is to see everything that is ours, everything that is our enemies, and during the Cold War, to track space junk, and then his job was specifically to track unknowns that we know are neither ours nor theirs. And he claims with a straight face, and I have no reason to doubt his integrity, of certain accounts, and one of these accounts was they were watching this radar screen, and this, of course, the radar is far more advanced than when it was. I believe he said this happened in about the 80s, and they're getting a signature of something very large. He said it would have had to have been out in deep space, that they had a guy who's a specialist, because it would just sort of show up as a blip, and as the radar kind of goes around and it starts to paint a picture, they have to then actually hand draw a picture of what this information is telling them as to what this might look like. So what they were able to determine was that it spanned, I believe he said, at least a mile or two wide. It was I don't think triangular is the word he said. It was geometric in shape. It had a face of it that was at a sharp angle. They were even able to start to see almost sort of like portals, parts of it, on the face of the thing. And it was just kind of hovering out there in deep space. So as they're watching this, they get a call on the quote unquote, the legendary, I don't know if it was a red phone.
Right. The hotline. The hotline.
Okay. From the general, okay, who's over this program, and he's calling not from Cheyenne Mountain, I think back east somewhere. They can see everything that their people are monitoring. He picks up the phone, Colonel Waite here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand, sir. He told them, that object you're looking at, stop. And he said, burn the tape. This never happened. You understand? Yes, sir. And he said, so they did. Of course, you stop directing the radars in that area, and you just go about your business. So that's the closest that I've heard of something massive that's kind of out there in deep space. And these videos that are coming up, I don't know. I kind of put that in my neutral, I'm not sure, what it is.
When you see something take a right turn in night vision, what are you thinking at that point? Are you thinking us or them?
It's hard. It's hard for anyone to convince me that this is just something conventional. I guess we could have that capability, but like I said, if you're talking about 18,000 mile an hour in orbit speed, the G forces required to turn a craft, okay, that don't even worry about it being occupied by a human, okay, and the forces that it would cause that. Just think about the structural integrity of the craft itself. Okay, that it's simply not possible of any material that I know of to stop something on a dime at that speed and turn it. You're talking about a propulsion system that basically is displacing inertia to where it's not feeling the effects of it. And that, to me, when I saw an object over the Caribbean in 2000, and I believe it was 2004, when I saw an object doing that and it was doing S turns, that's what, if I wasn't, open-minded before, that made me a believer that it's probably not ours.
And we're talking a lot of objects that you're observing are in orbit, outside of the atmosphere. What about with night vision and stuff that is closer That have you seen anything like that? And then you pull the night vision away and looked, and it's not there. And then you go back and you look, and it's something maybe a mile high.
Yes. A lot of your viewers are probably familiar with Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. And I was staying at a friend's bed and breakfast who was investigating Skinwalker Ranch long before George Knapp or anybody were, out there. And I was about a half hour away from the ranch, and it was cold. So I brought one of my thermal cameras that FLIR had given me as a demo, and they just said, are you using it? I was like, yeah, well, keep it. I'm like, wow, thank you.
Right.
So set up the FLIR camera, and I had a wireless receiver for the video back in the main part of the bed and breakfast because it was freezing cold. So I'm doing the lazy investigating, and we're just watching the big screen TV. And I see this object, triangular object, 3 points of light, come slowly over the mountain ridge, which is only about 3/4 of a mile away. So I run outside to where the camera is, and I'm yelling back into the house, into the hotel. And I'm like, hey, where is it? Where is it? Tell me where it is. It's right there. It's right there coming over the peak. And I'm running back and forth, trying to move the camera. I couldn't see it. Couldn't see it with my own eyes. Completely silent, but it's showing up on thermal camera. So, yes, I have filmed that, but the other objects that I've seen, unfortunately, I didn't have the night vision with me. And that's something I have to tell people is you got to be dedicated to having this thing in your car, ready to go, because don't expect that you're just going to go out any night and just see something. These events can be over in a matter of like 4 seconds. So it is kind of hard to actually, that's another thing to tell the skeptics. Yeah, so what? You have a 1 billion cell phone cameras in the world now. So what? Do you really, if you go take that out and you try to film an airplane, okay, that's on, transitioning way out there several miles away, try to do that on your iPhone. Chances are, although technology is good, the light capability of that phone and its ability to focus, you're probably not going to be able to see it at all on your screen. Okay, so you do need night vision to get a clear image of a lot of things, but the events can happen very quickly.
Are you saying, I want to understand what you're saying, with the FLIR camera, you had thermal imaging of a triangle object. How large was it?
It was very difficult to tell because I couldn't tell the altitude over the mountain ridge that it was. But, I would guess, I'm just guessing that it looked like it could have been 30 or 40 feet in width.
And it was a solid object?
No, I can't say that it was. I mean, the lights were traveling in formation.
Right.
But through thermal camera, all I'm seeing is the signature of the points of light in a triangle formation. So I assumed it was a fixed object. The other triangle, which I witnessed down here in Southern California, flew right over Huntington Beach. And this was just 2 years ago in May. And for those people who are saying, oh, this is all military, it's all, super secret testing. Again, the argument, why would you fly something you're trying to keep super secret over a heavily populated area, 1,000 feet above my head? And I started to feel like I was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because people always describe, well, not always, but often describe these triangles as not only being silent, but employing some type of a cloaking technology to where you look up at the bottom of it and you can see the sky.
Right.
And okay, I had an open mind, but I tell you, and my wife saw it too. She saw, we were jogging on a high school track, just after dark. And the bottom of this thing looked the same, either the same color as the sky, it was just painted the same, or it was as if I was looking kind of straight through it, because the only way I could tell it was a defined object was a faint defined edge between the 3 points of white light as it flew through the marine layer at a very fast speed and completely silent.
Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Ben Hansen.
Hi, Ben. It's Cortana.
Hi, Cortana.
Hey. How are you doing?
Hey, I am great. So I kind of want to pull back the conversation a little. I'm not going to talk about satellites, but I want to pull this back to when you were talking about your experiencing the shadow entity when you were a teenager. What you described sounds a lot like sleep paralysis. And me being a frequent flyer of the sleep paralysis plane, I'm just like, that's kind of a natural physiological thing, though I don't deny that it could also be a gateway to seeing stuff that might be going on in another dimension.
Okay. No, you're talking about the event where I was 7 years old and I was upset at my parents, or you're talking about the one I was
yeah.
kind of pushed down the end of my bed?
Yeah. Well, both those instances, actually. And then you were saying that some friends of yours have also said that they've experienced this kind of a thing, too. And it just sounds like sleep paralysis, really.
Except he was wide awake when he was 7.
Yeah, I was screaming and yelling at my parents at the time. So, yeah, I think,
although I've been wide awake during some instances where it seems like I transitioned into another dimension too. So,
well, I hope I never experience sleep paralysis while I'm wide awake, because that could be very inefficient.
It could be. I just want that like this is, it's normal for me. I mean, so this happened like last week, and I think I don't really see much entities anymore. Although if they do, just, you tell them to shoo and they go away. But yeah, it sounds like sleep paralysis to me.
Well, thank you.
Great question, Cortana. Thank you for the call. Let me ask you this. She touched upon something that I think we're all, we have all experienced. Do you think you slipped into a little dimension at that moment, that maybe that wasn't your room, even though it looked like your room?
Oh, that would be something. Yeah, I don't know. That type of thing does interest me. When we talk about dimensions, there's so infrequently do we have really good stories where spontaneous invisibility is something I'd love to actually find a good case of.
Mm-hmm.
To where, somebody's talking to their buddy and all of a sudden the buddy disappears, or you get that feeling you're at a party and no one's paying attention to me. Well, yeah, possibly they're not paying attention to you, but there's some great stories where people are like not acknowledged, standing right in front of you, and for a moment you're just not there.
Well, that happened to me a lot in the 80s, but that was a whole nother thing. But Ben, also this, I want to go back to this FLIR image. That could have been something that was interdimensional too as well. It's showing up on the FLIR, but not on the naked eye.
Yeah, and you do have to kind of start to consider those possibilities, that it could be either technology driven to where that wavelength that we're looking into is only able to see the technology when it's so-called cloaked, because it's generating heat, or that somehow it's slipping in and out. And I have to say the crazier things that come out of my mouth, as I get older, it seems like the less I know and the more I'm open to those things. So I become more skeptical, but also more open.
Les, I've got so many questions on Twitter, and I've ignored almost all of them, and I apologize to the audience tonight. But Les tweeted in, he said, could you ask Ben how he was able to smell out the fakery of the man with the screaming alien and UFO photos?
Oh, we're talking about Jonathan Reed.
Yeah. I didn't want to go there, but you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time I mention his name, he sells more books. There are some diehard followers. I'll say this much: he was very cordial with us. I think he's got a great heart. Except for the defrauding of people. I don't know why he just doesn't give it up. I actually, from him, he inspired me to develop a hoaxer profiling system. So I go around and lecture about profiling hoaxers primarily because I was tired of seeing people like this who exhibit basically sociopathic traits, who could diagnosably be sociopaths, and clinically taking advantage of people, and like he did. And if you want to know about him, just go online. To be fair, go ahead, read his books, read what he has to say, but also read about the research that's been done. And he made it too easy. The nail in the coffin for me really didn't even air on TV. So, I mean, we could talk on and on about that, but when I was questioning him and told him I didn't believe him, the magic of editing, I didn't believe him at that point, but it wasn't to that specific thing I was responding to. It was to a video that had been posted. He claimed he didn't do it, claiming that he appeared on live television in Canada using what he called the artifact, which is a bracelet he puts on his wrist.
Right.
And he disappears. And you can see him breathing like, it's working. And then the camera, fizzles and interference, and then boom, he's gone. Right. And then a light appears and whoosh, he comes back. And I said, Jonathan, you're not telling me the truth. A 12-year-old could tell that this was filmed in somebody's basement. I mean, this is so amateur. And, I didn't edit that, but you were in it, weren't you? Well, yes, that really happened. So it's things like that. So how was I able to kind of nail it on him? That story has so many moving parts to it that it isn't hard. It's not hard. The thing that frustrates me is that new things keep coming out about it, and that some people, they're not concerned about the truth. They're concerned about the emotion behind it. And that's one thing you have to watch out about with hoaxers. They will not focus on facts because there aren't many facts to give. They will try to sway you emotionally, because we base our decisions about 70 to 80% on emotion.
Well, when he first told the story, about his dog and, walking, that you're exactly right. Right there, he's every dog owner in the world is now focused on what happened to his dog. And the emotional side of that. I got sucked in. You know what? I'll say
it's a great story.
It's a great story. It's a great. It is a fan. If you the old campfire story. The escaped psychopath with the hook that's left in the door handle of the car. And you listen to those campfire stories. Okay, great. Well, Jonathan had one of those campfire stories.
He did. He did, and being I don't know this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was diagnosed as sociopathic, anti-personality disorder, in the way that he can tell you straight face with no remorse, no empathy, and spin his tail. I don't doubt that that he's got the skill to pull it off. And I enjoy a few stories like this. But what I wish people would do is what I call ethical hoaxing. If you're going to do something like this, only let it go on for like a week and then explain it and say, hey, guys, I'm really sorry. Don't carry it on and suck people into it and, let them be the laughing stock of all their friends and everything else that goes along with it.
Yeah, it did get more and more and more fantastical. I mean, it did get out of control. And, the whole thing about his house and the CIA and the FBI and the Men in Black and the refrigerator and the being missing, the being there. It got way out of control. And
it did.
Yeah.
And the thing I would add to this, because what I try not to do, and I stepped into it, I try not to name names, because it's like you empower them anyways. Us just doing an episode on it gave a resurgence to his books and everything else. So not only that, like, I'm not about attacking people.
Didn't you guys? And we're out of time, by the way. We're going to be way out of time, and I don't want to end in the middle of something really cool. But didn't you guys? This is my memory. I'm going back on memory. Didn't you guys try to? Didn't you recreate the diamond craft and float it in the woods?
Yep, we did. It was fun. We did that, and we created a much better, actually. Alien with animatronic eyes.
That popped open. Well, the first time that I saw that, I jumped out of my skin. I'll give him credit for that. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. So, listen, Ben, I got to thank you for coming on the show. You're going to be next up for you. Is it Travis Walton?
No, I will be in Scarefest in Kentucky in mid-September. That's my next one. And then I'll be last week of September at Rose City Paracon in Canada. And then probably some things in October. And then Travis Walton in November.
Skyfire Summit. And we'll be out there for that. So looking forward to hanging out with you. And I just got to say, thank you so much. I can't wait. We only scratched the surface on a few different subjects tonight. We've got to get you back on and go deep.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much. Ben Hansen, everybody. BenHansen.com. Go check it out. Thank you, Ben. You have a great night.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy.
Go do your Giordano's.
All righty.
I'll talk to you.
Bye.
Ben Hansen, everybody. Thank you so much. What a show. What a week we have coming up here. Thank you, Ben. The website is Ben Hansen, HANSEN, not SON, SEN.com. Go check it out. His schedule is there. He's got videos. He's got photographs. He's got a whole factor faked section. He's got a night vision section. And there's even firearms training. Thank you, Ben Hansen. What a great night. This week, don't forget that we've got an amazing week lined up here. And we've started it off with Ben Hansen tonight. Tomorrow night, artist, director Jeremy Corbell is going to be right here. We'll have the links up to his videos on the website, and you'll be able to go and check that out in advance of the show. Jeremy Corbell, he's got some breaking news on Bob Lazar that has been going on tomorrow night. We will be discussing all of that. And also, I'm going to kind of leak this. He's on location somewhere, and we're going to find out exactly what he is doing. We'll see how much we can squeeze out of Jeremy tomorrow night. I've been looking forward to having Jeremy on the show. Tomorrow night, Jeremy Corbell right here. And then on Wednesday, Jamie Bartlett. Now, Jamie's information is there at jimmychurchradio.com. Go and check out the stuff that he has written on the dark net. He's reported on some of the subjects. It's going to be a little bit sensitive, okay? But he has gone there, and we will be discussing that. I have been talking about the darknet over the last couple of months, and that'll be on Wednesday. And then, of course, Thursday, Fader Night. Next Monday, you do want to set your clocks, your schedule, and your life around our show Monday night. That's right. Corey Good and David Wilcock will be here. It is truly going to be a blockbuster night. You have requested this. We have pulled it off. We are going to do this Monday night. Corey Good, David Wilcock live right here on Fade to Black, an exclusive evening with those two gentlemen. All questions answered Monday night, and you're going to want to be right here. I want to thank Ben Hansen once again. Thank you so much. I have got to do this. One day, very soon, I'm going to have a fleet. I'm going to have an army of engineers. I'm just going to come in. I'm going to vape, drink coffee, and hang out on the microphone. It's going to be soon. Thank you, Ben Hansen. Great show. Fade to Black's executive producer. This show does not go down without Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Fady Bidell. Webmaster is Method of Signaling. Announcers, Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication, KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night, Jeremy Corbell right here. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. See ya.